Okay, 7:40, meeting called back to order. Prior to the next discussion, it seems Supervisor Hughes has a comment he wishes to share. Floor is yours, Supervisor Hughes.
I'd just like to say, as you've seen the events that have played out tonight, this township is in a crisis. And if I were allowed to give my report that I intended to do tonight, you'll find that there are a group of individuals orchestrated by powers in this township, both here and behind the scenes, ready to oppose my opinions, my views. These folks, backed by powerful organizations with huge financial stakes, have persistently challenged me during the last 2 years. The choice is yours. Ignore the reality or lend an ear to what's going on in these meetings. They're obvious. We have no leadership, as displayed by our chairman. Thank you. The embarrassment is not mine, George. It's yours.
Thank you for your comments, Supervisor Hughes. At this time, prior to reviewing zoning, I wish to consider board action in relation to Supervisor Hughes' conduct. I am open to accepting a motion. I'm also open to executive session. I'm open to doing it right here on the floor. So if any other members of the board wish to share a thought, I'm all ears.
I'd like to make a motion.
Okay. Floor is yours, Supervisor, Vice Chair Gardella.
I'd like to make a motion to again formally censure Supervisor Hughes for his continued disrespect and activity during board meetings.
I will second that.
So we have a censure motion, seconded by Supervisor Kircher. Thank you both. Any other, as far as debate goes, I will just make the comment first, and then I'll open the floor back up before calling a vote on this. It pains me, but every meeting cannot be conducted like this, and it is both in our ordinance and in our Robert's rules, and in fact, in the code for disrupting meetings. What code was that, Solicitor, if you may?
The Crimes Code.
Crimes Code, yes, for disruption of meetings. So we cannot have that, and we're not going to run meetings like this every meeting moving forward. So I am personally in favor of the censure resolution. We will obviously update it and commit it to writing, and we will present it to the public. But as far as this meeting goes, I am personally in favor of Supervisor Gardella's motion, which was seconded by Supervisor Kircher. I'll itemize some thoughts and specifics for the good of the public in the written document, which will be presented after this meeting and prior to the next. But before doing that, I would cede the floor to any other supervisors present for any additional. Supervisor Vollmer, the floor is yours.
I'd just like to make a comment. I mean, I'm for the censure, again, of Mr. Hughes, but I feel it will have little to no impact. It's just words. He doesn't care. He doesn't respect a meeting, doesn't respect organization, and that's where we run into the problem. And, we can have heated debate, but, I'm for keeping the meeting civil and organized so it can function and flow. I mean, it goes, as far as, all the public comments too, whether we like the public comments or not, we're the board, we have to listen to them, and the public deserves our respect, even if we disagree, because we need to run these meetings in an organized fashion. So I'm all for running these meetings in organized fashion, so, I'll support this, but I think that we still have the issue at large, because I don't think that this will matter in the long run.
Thank you, Supervisor Vollmer. Anything else to be said on this topic?
Not from me.
And before calling the vote, while we're on this topic, Betsy, I'm sorry I missed you. The floor is yours.
Thank you for letting me speak on this. It's not my decision. I have mixed emotions on removing anyone who has taken an oath of office from a meeting. That said, one of the questions that was raised tonight was Supervisor Hughes asked me about certain invoices in the past 2 weeks. At the very last meeting, a motion was made that all communication from the board go through you, Chair Bell. He didn't go through you. He wrote right to me. It's just an example of how he ignores the wishes of the majority of the board. And like I said, I have mixed emotions about removing someone who has taken an oath of office from a meeting. But I want to also mention to the people, and he has a lot of supporters, that he's not listening to what gets passed because he didn't vote for it or whatever reason. I don't want to give him reasons, but that's my point. Thank you.
I appreciate your words. By the way, from my seat, I was excusing him from this deliberation, not forbidding him from his presence for the whole meeting. That would be a board decision during this phase. I was simply excusing him from this
Right.
phase
You're right.
while we debated what the action was going to be. So the fact that he's
Oh, well, Chairman Bell, then I would like to request the floor again.
Okay, the floor is yours.
So I did not understand that you were providing him an entry back into the meeting after this phase. My understanding was that you, as the chair, had him removed from the meeting. Are we now to assume that he's going to come back into the meeting after the censure?
Well, the censure technically won't occur necessarily this evening because it's got to be drawn up. So this is a deliberation of what action the board is going to take in relation to him. So he was excused for that phase. I never made final comment that he was excused for the meeting, but in conversation with the chief, it seemed to be that that was his intention. So just to be clear, so there's no ambiguity. If he came back in, the board has not yet, it's not, the chair conducts effective meetings and takes action when needed, but I have actually not thrown him out of the meeting, to answer your question. After I call the vote on that, before moving on to the next item in this phase of the meeting, if that's the will of the board, we can have that be the will of the board. But at the moment, he was excused during the penalty phase.
Okay, then I would like the floor again after the vote on this motion.
Understood. So on this motion to effect censure on Supervisor Hughes, I'm going to call the vote at this point, assuming no additional comment, right? So all those in favor of the censure resolution, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? So censure resolution will pass 4-0. Now, it sounded like Supervisor Gardella, you still wish the floor.
Yes, I would like to make a motion that Supervisor Hughes be removed for the balance of this meeting so that we can conduct our business in an orderly fashion.
I will second that. I am supporting of that. I just wanted to make sure from my seat that it's known what actions I've taken, particularly for you not in the room, but I am supportive of that. So we have a motion and a second to have Supervisor Hughes removed for the balance of this meeting. Any debate?
I'd just like to say a word.
The floor is yours, Supervisor Vollmer.
I'm struggling with this a little bit, just to be honest. I know how I feel personally with Mr. Hughes, but I'm trying to look at this objectively. He left on his own, so I'm torn. I'm really torn on this motion. on how I'm going to vote on this. I don't like the disruption, but I didn't know, I was under the impression that he was asked to leave the meeting for good. I had the same thought process as Vice Chair Gardella when Chief walked him out, that he was not going to return. But that's all I'm going to say right now.
Thank you, Supervisor Vollmer. Anything else to add?
Well, I guess the only thing that I would like to add is that, as I stated before, we all had a chance to talk to Betsy and any other of the staff if we had any questions before, and get those issues worked out, either yes or no, whichever way it may be. But he just does, I want to get something done at these meetings. We're not accomplishing anything except bickering back and forth with him. And actually, I commend you for doing what you did, George.
So calling the vote then, there's a motion and a second. Before calling the vote,
If I may, Mr. Chairman.
now would be a good time for you to make.
Because Supervisor Hughes has left on his own accord, I would respectfully submit that the motion to permanently remove him may be moot from this particular meeting. He's chosen to leave on his own accord.
Okay.
So, certainly there is punishment that this board has decided to render in the form of a censure resolution. So, certainly my thought would be to potentially not vote for this motion.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to see if, I'll call the vote on this motion in light of what insights that were shared and Solicitor Schnee. I'm going to call the vote on Supervisor Hughes being removed for the balance of the meeting. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
No.
I'm going to vote nay, despite what I just said a minute ago. So we'll stay at an impasse there. So the vote won't carry 2-2. And the reason doing, because I took under advisement of what the solicitor had to say, over my own wish, but that's why you're sitting there. Let's get back onto the agenda.